Is that up?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, for those of you who don't know, and those of you who have probably been here for 6-7 years already and don't know, what you have been doing is a summarized version of the Tibetan Buddhist monastic course that could take 20 years, condensed into a 6-year program, which I've made it into 7 years because I can't do it. Yay. In that shorter time. And it's the essential teachings from the monastic system. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all the monks and nuns that you see would have gone through the same topics in a format of memorizing from the age of 8 or something, or sometimes younger, yeah, to being able to go to a class at the age of 12, to then class after class all day and every evening debating these ideas until it's so clear in your mind that your position is either here or there in relation to all existing things. And then what is mind? What is consciousness? How do we experience reality? Where does reality come from? Is there past lives? Is there future lives? What's karma? Why compassion? What the point of meditating? What does emptiness mean? What does dependent origination mean? Is there such a thing as the Buddha? Do I end when I die? Can I stop death? Yeah, and so the answer is yes to all of the above. And we're here. We've studied a whole bunch of big ideas, and we've landed in a series of texts called lojongs, which are sort of private advices. Sometimes it's translated as mind training, but it really is the training of the heart, the training on, if what came before in these courses is true, that the nature of the world we experience is moldable. You can stop suffering or you can continue suffering, and that has a cause, and you can cause the suffering to stop, and therefore experience yourself not just as a broken being, but an enlightened being, an awakened being. You can reach a state of nirvana. If those things are true, then these texts are a shortcut for those who already understand that those things are possible, and they've been practicing being good meditators, good logicians, good Buddhists, and they're sick and tired of suffering, and they're like, I just want the shortcut. So this series of texts that we started last week are personal advices between established practitioners. So I have to assume, and you have to assume that, okay, I buy into karma, I understand emptiness, I have a meditation practice, I've been doing service, and I've got this practice, but I want it faster. And so here, the teacher and the student have this intimate sharing where the teacher says, if you want it faster, do this impossible thing. Do this impossible thing and you'll see your world transformed. So hopefully we'll get to the nitty-gritty today. But before that, we're going to do the practice of the mandala offering, which is just generating a perfect universe, offering it up to that teacher that is the one we hear in our minds when we get an aha moment, or if you've got a formal teacher, to your guru, your teacher, offer them everything so you can receive everything. So.
Sashi Jushim Metotra Viral Shir Indegam Padi Sange Shindu Niteruagi Rokun Namda Shimachi Parsho Idam Guru Ratnamandavakam Nirattayami Sange Idam Saki Shoknam Va Janchu Vardu Dakni Daksuchi Dakiya Shinyan Nipresananki Rola Chir Sambe Drupasho Sangye Chidam Soki Choknam Ha Danchu Vardu Dagni Japsu Chi Daki Shinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Roa Venchir Sangye Juparsho Sangye Chidam Soki Choknam Ha Janchu Vardu Dagni Japsu Chi Daki Shinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Roa Venchir Sangye Juparsho.
So I'm going to invite you that unlike the logic class or the class on karma, that you listen to this as if something is whispering in your ear. If you really want to know, check this out and see what comes up for you. Yeah, because we're actually getting advices from masters. Well, I'll introduce some of them. I'm going to quickly go through a couple of lojong that we didn't finish last week, but so quickly that you will miss them, just so you know the names and a little bit about where they come from. But I want to focus on one lojong, one text on developing the good heart, which is long, but so amazing. It's an incredible text. The Wheel of Sharp Weapons. Yeah, it's the one I really want to focus on today. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of other lojong so you get the flavor of this genre of texts. And they're going to grab our minds and say, you're dealing with everyday reality, no problem. Go ahead, do that. You'll end up like everyone else. You want to transform this short window of life you have between now and death. You want to have a completely different experience. Perhaps touch immortality, perhaps be freed from samsaric existence. If you've been studying, if you've been a practitioner, if you've tried to be a good meditator, yogi, and do all these things, do it this way and see what happens before you die. Yeah, so that's where we're up to in this series of things. And it sounds crazy and magical if you've never heard this before. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I have to take you there tonight because the course finishes in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So, Lojong Dunduma is famous text. Those of you that were here remember Geshe Chekawa, I think he was Geshe Chekawa, yeah. Around the 1100s, he was the first Kadampa. He was one of the Kadampas, and the Kadampas were. Who were the Kadampas?
Is the speech of the Buddha. It's
Dampas?
Dharma, and then Dampa, I don't remember.
So the Kadampas were the early folk that moved from Indian Buddhism into Tibet and Nepal and brought these crazy ideas about the nature of existence and the mind to yak herders, the Tibetans, yeah, and blew their minds. So here were all these weirdos from India saying strange things and looking weird, similar to what we're doing at Three Jewels. Yeah. In the West, like, no, you should get an iPad, you should get a business, you should do this kind of life, and that will be fine. Get married, have a job, and you'll be fine. And we're saying, no, be weird and see how that changes your world. So I'm not going to cover the Dumduma. It's stunning though. And its essence is to say, if you really want to speed up this process, if you want to see your world transform, you have to get bodhicitta. You have to get this wish for enlightenment for the sake of every living being you pass on the street, every being you can conceive of. every happiness that you wish for yourself, turn it and wish it for someone else, and then act on it. So this 7-point lojong is just the steps to do that. Yeah. So basically, he says there's the foundation. Why do this? Then there's actual why do this? It motivates you to do this practice. Then it'll generate the practice of bodhicitta, which is part A and B. For those of you that know what's bodhicitta broken into part A and B.
Isn't it sugarcane bodhicitta?
That's a result. But how would you? What's the vow process?
The wish.
Yeah. So then you say, I wish I could be such a being that would think of others first, and then you take vows and you act as if you are a being that would. Yeah, exactly. Then it says, turn every problem that you meet in the path as just more fuel for making that thing real. So if you are wanting to reach a state of Buddhahood and your path is bodhicitta and you're going to generate that wish and you can't wait to take care of others, and then your boss fires you, and then you break up with your partner, and then your mother says something terrible, and then your leg dropped off, whatever. He says here, turn every single thing into the path. There's nothing that can't be turned into the path. It all doesn't have to be suffering. That same energy that came from the firing of the job, the breakup, etc., the power behind that energy, because things don't have a nature, can be used to just speed you up even faster. So he goes there, and then he goes, this is what it would be like if you live that way your whole life. That's a lifelong practice. And then he goes into explanations of what it would be like. Actually, I'll go into lifelong practice because some of you know this practice. What would a lifelong practice look like if you were generating the wish for enlightenment every day, day? From a text or a class that we've done before.
Saying everyone is a Buddha?
Sort of.
Serving
The motivation to.
Serving everyone?
We'll get to it. Maybe I didn't prompt you correctly. There is a practice that you do when you wake up in the morning until you fall asleep to have a specific state of mind.
Power?
And then it becomes power. The same 5 powers become power. That's the essence of the 4th verse of the lojong. Yeah, and I'll cover that. And then the lojong says, well, if you want to check how you actually would feel after you've developed this thing, the 5th verse talks about that. The 6th verse talks about what kind of promises you make to yourself, and then a couple of advices from the teacher. We're not doing that. I'm just doing number 4. What would a lifelong practice look like? And I'm going to do it for like 3 minutes, so enjoy it. Okay, 3 minutes being 5. So here's a verse. I need someone to read it.
The brief essentials of the instruction are combined within 5 powers. In a great way, these same 5 are the advices for sending your mind to cherish the act.
Do you remember the 5 powers? The 5 powers is the practice. Let's see if you remember. Projecting power.
It's a lot like the 7 ingredients.
It's very similar to the 7 ingredients. So the idea is, let's say you got this personal advice from your teacher and you want to say, okay, I'm sick of suffering. I really want out. What do I have to do? And your teacher says, just do these 5 things. Yeah. And do it with just the right motivation, the right understanding of where things come from. Do it as if your life depended on it, because it does. And so the first of the 5, the projecting power, would be as soon as you wake up in the morning, as soon as your eyes open, as soon as alertness comes, you remember why the hell you've got this day, which is to make sure you take care of others, that you would care for others as much as you care for yourself. That's all I'm going to do today. Yeah. May my day not be wasted on Instagram. May, if I do waste it on Instagram, maybe to give somebody else followers. Yeah. And so you wake up and you generate that wish. You generate that wish for yourself. You're like, this is what I'm going to do today, as if it's my last. Yeah. And so whatever it takes, may your day be spent on serving others. And then the second is the power of habit. So you remind yourself, or your teacher instructs you, that every time you move your body, whether you're sitting and you're going to stand up, or whether you're standing up and you're going to sit down, or if you're going to go to the toilet or you're going to walk, whenever your body moves from situation to situation, may I be reminded of that wish that I promised myself in the morning, to really, really take care of others. Yeah, so then every single millisecond of the day, whenever your arm moves, you're reminded, oh, I'm not just at work. With the work that I'm doing at work, may this serve others. That email I just sent, may that serve others. Yeah, that latte I just drank at the coffee shop, when I looked at the lady, said thank you, may she wake up in her heart. May every single millisecond of my experience, may I remind myself that that's what I'm doing. Yeah. Who walked in? Hey, welcome. There might be some.
There's space over here if you grab a cushion.
The third one is the power of virtue, of seeds. So here, your time is limited. You only got today. May the seeds you plant today not be average. May you choose the highest seeds possible. So if you had a choice between spending an hour on Instagram and helping somebody else have love or joy or happiness, which one would you choose? And so you become a kind of karma hog, yeah, where you're like, out of all the things I could be doing today, which is the one that will benefit most beings? Which is the one that would get us to enlightenment first? And the presupposition is that you should get enlightened before you can help somebody else get enlightened, right? And the only way you're going to get enlightened by helping everyone else get enlightened. But apparently it's true. The next power is the power of ripping out, the ripping out power. So this is a watchfulness part of your mind that says, whenever a negative thought of self-cherishing, of taking care of me first, of if I had this water to drink and other people might be thirsty and I'm really thirsty, I better finish it before someone else wants it. Whenever that thought comes up, to smash it before it gets momentum, just to completely smash it. Any movement of my mind that would lead me to not take care of others. So that would be the fourth advice, right? The ripping out. Before that thought is finished, may I smash it. And then the fifth power, they call it the power of prayer, but it's actually coffee meditation for those of you that know. Coffee meditation. It means that you've exhausted your body and your mind all day thinking of others. In all the mundane activity that you're doing, right? There's so many phones pointing my way. Yeah. And so you want to charge up that day's activity, that as you're falling asleep, all you're doing is rejoicing that, oh my God, I took the essence of today. I stopped any negativity. I thought of other people as soon as I woke up. Every time I remembered and I moved, I thought I reaffirmed my efforts to take care of others, because that's the only way that I'm going to really shift the experience of this world to being a mundane, normal, cyclical thing and break out of it completely and reach an understanding and a freedom from the things that keep me in this cycle. So then you try and fall asleep with the joy of all the effort you did all day. And as you fall asleep, they say the karmas multiply, the mental imprints multiply the entire night. And so when you wake up, you have them. So that's the 5 powers. But what's the verse say again? Can you read it again?
The brief essentials of the instruction are combined within the 5 powers.
So stop there. So he says, the teacher says, hey, Geshe Chikawa, right? He says to his student, the essence of getting enlightened is in these 5 powers. Do these 5 day in, day out, and that's the essence. Now, it's assuming you've studied karma, emptiness, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But then he says,
in a great way, these same 5 are the advices for sending your mind.
And here is the practice of power, this big secret practice where you transfer your consciousness at the time of death. Geshe Chikawa is saying to his student, these same 5 activities that you do day in, day out becomes the training for you to be able to do something special with these 5, becomes the foundation for you to be able to do something special with your mind as your body and mind separate at the time of death. And then you can use this to really get enlightened at that time, using the power of that time. And I have to tell you what my teachers told me about these things. In the West, we like shortcuts. We like city shortcuts. We're like, oh great, I don't have to do these 5. I can wait till I'm dying, and then I can do the special 5 and I'll be fine. Yeah, so let's go drinking and partying, yo. And knock, knock, here comes death. Yeah, and so these 5 become something special at the time of death. But I have to tell you that you won't be able to focus on anything at the time of death unless it's already a habit. I know, because I just saw my mum pass away. There's no amount of thinking things in a special way when the special pain of death comes your way, when the deconstruction of your body and your life is in your face. There's no like, oh, that's right, I've got to remember to do these 5 things, breathe this way and do that thing. Not going to happen. It's only going to happen if we built inside of us a pattern, a habit, to only naturally think of things that way, because we've done it all our lives in the 5 powers. Yeah? And then power can work. The capacity for consciousness to be directed at the time of death. Then it might work. Fair? But we like all the mystical things. I'm going to do power. Yeah? I'm going to party all my life, and then here I go, power. Not going to happen. Highly unlikely that it will happen. Yeah? So they're the same 5. But it starts off with the projecting power, similarly to when you've been doing this day in, day out for decades, where you wake up and now naturally, what do you think? What's the 5 powers? As soon as you wake up,
What am I going to do to help others?
How can I help others? That's all my purpose is today, right? Similarly, when death comes, at the moment of that, this power, is that up there or not yet? Is there any more? There he is. It's like, may I remember, may I not lose bodhicitta, that wish to reach enlightenment for the sake of everyone else, through this entire process. So it's the projecting that, okay, here I enter the death process. Because I've been doing it for decades, it's the first prayer is, may it have it and may it not disappear through the entire process. Mm-hmm. What do you think the power of habit would be? Would turn into? Because remember, the power of habit in the 5 were, every time I move, may I remember that to take care of others, to take care of others, to take care of others.
Would it be as like the elements start leaving?
Exactly. Yeah.
Have that movement.
Yeah. So
purifying the pain of others.
Whatever is going to happen in the moment of death, may I do it to take away other people's death. May every millisecond of my consciousness and body disintegrating become a stronger, firm reminder, a habit, that I am taking away death and suffering. If I figure it out at this point through this death process, may I stop death on the planet.
Is that Jesus?
No, it's the girl going, yo. With her. Yeah.
Like the rock and roll.
Yeah, she's like badass.
But it is like the Jesus idea.
Is it?
What you just talked about.
Oh, it is. Yeah, sorry, I didn't.
I thought you were talking about that.
I thought it was something else. Yeah.
I thought you were making a joke.
Yeah,
I was
so-
making a joke. I mean,
Okay. It's heavy metal Jesus, okay? For everyone that needs to know. What do you think the virtue power, the power of seeds is?
Like, may I carry that and bring that?
Here,
To continue helping.
So you remember in the 5 powers, it was, may every karma that I plant be a heightened karma. So if I had a choice between a lesser karma or a more powerful,
Right.
may I choose the more powerful. At this point, it becomes the letting go of attachment of anything at all that you've accomplished in this life. So as you're dying, instead of thinking, sorry, mum, like my mum said, we have to fix the kitchen. I'm like, Mum, it doesn't matter about the kitchen. Like, she's not coming out of the hospital. Yes, but the kitchen color, I'm like, not going to happen. Instead of thinking about the physical stuff, your mind would naturally should naturally turn to, may everything I've got be of service to someone else. May people get everything out of my bank account and be able to use it for whatever they need. May that kitchen be whatever people want that kitchen to. May someone use my house. All the virtue, all the karma, all the goodness you've accumulated throughout your life, you want to give it away for the sake of every being to be their ultimate self in relation to those things. You imagine people wearing your clothes, and in wearing your clothes, they want to reach enlightenment. So does that make sense? Like any object that you've accumulated may be a vehicle for someone else to get a realization, and with that state of mind, but in this thing is a proper way to let go of this life, and would cause, because it's such a powerful karma, right? Such a powerful mental imprint, to say goodbye to all the stuff you've accumulated, and not just goodbye, but may wake everyone up. That powerful karma must have a result equal and opposite reaction, right? Where you would get the abundance that you're giving away. You would get the realizations you're wishing on everyone else. And because it's a heightened state, it will happen faster. Laws of karma. And then in the rip-out karma, this is where you do your saying goodbye to anything that was disturbing your mind. This is where you do your 4 powers. This is where you'd any regrets you have may turn into a realization, like I no longer hold a grudge. There's nothing holding my mind. I want to clean any negativity that I've ever done to anyone. May they all feel free from it. May me too feel free from it. And so you are now just saying goodbye. If you've got vows, this is where you do a self-purification. If you've got a tantric empowerment, you would do a second empowerment. At that time, a self-empowerment. And you would restore the pristineness of your mind. And here, the power of prayer would turn into what they say is an unimaginable pain, a pain that we haven't had whilst alive, a pain that comes to us at the moment of death, that is harder than any pain we've ever experienced. As you prepare to engage with that, that you imagine you're taking it away from every single being, and that they will never feel it, and may that be, may you just absorb the suffering of all existence at that point. That would be like the biggest stamp. And
maybe you were going to ask a similar thing, but I'm wondering, like, there's no discussion about emptiness in this.
Why not?
practice. Well, I know that it's generally implied, but I'm just thinking about a consciousness that's seeing itself die, and how
it's all in the previous, it's all in the context of why you're being taught this culture.
right,
You're a practitioner.
right. But so the point of POA is to choose your rebirth, or to just not die, become enlightened at the point of your death. So then if you haven't perceived emptiness, and you're doing this practice, even if you haven't perceived emptiness, you can just become enlightened.
So without going into that discussion in detail, there is a couple of times in your life where the winds go into the central channel. Yeah, and one of them is at the point of death, where you get to see the clear light, they say. I don't want to go into that whole discussion, but at that point, it is like seeing emptiness. And you could recognize at that point, knowing the wheel of life in the center, they've got a little tiny rainbow string coming out. That's that moment
From the Bardo.
where the winds gather and go into the central channel at the time of death or at the time of orgasm, at the time of seeing emptiness directly. And at that time, you could have a direct perception, and with this power, not return to samsara, not perceive yourself as re-entering samsara, but you can't just do it at the time because you're wishing it. Yeah.
You still have to have wisdom.
Yeah, you have to have had decades of habituation of your mind for that mind to have that perception. You can't just like, okay, I'm going to have a normal samsaric life, do the same thing everyone else does, and then expect a completely different result. Like, not going to happen. So that's why in this lineage, they say, don't rely on power. Yeah, you're not going to be saved at the time of death if you haven't had a lifetime of mental habit where you will be forced to experience those energies in a different way. If you've habituated your mind to the idea of emptiness directly, at some point when you're going to get some kind of hallucination through the process of death, you might be forced to perceive that as seeing emptiness directly, which is seeing emptiness directly. So Geshe Chekawa, at his time of death, his students, after he taught this stuff, his students were around him, and he uttered these words. Someone read it? Hannibal. So this is a picture of the Buddha's passing, and all the gods and demigods and so on, crying and praying.
You can't read that?
Nothing to read. Oh, get on with it. No.
I was praying that I could pass on to the lowest hell for the sake of everything in me.
Nothing.
I'm still praying.
So he says, I was praying that I could pass, like he's dying and he utters these words. I was praying that I could pass on to the lowest hells, to any being that is suffering, so I could help them. I can't believe that's frozen. And then he says, it's not working, I can't go.
All I can see before me now is the paradise of mind.
Yeah, so the more he's trying to reach all these beings in the lowest suffering, because he's so pure, because of the results of his immediate karma, so take care of everyone, will force you to experience nirvana faster. He's like, it's not working, I want to try harder. And he gets further. He's like, so that's his last words before he died, or his body passed. God knows where he went. So that's the 3 minutes that we're going to spend on the Dunduma.
Where is that?
That
Where
was
that?
the short thing.
That was the short, that was one of the 5 verses,
Wow.
7 verses. Yeah, one of the 7 verses, which had 5 parts. That's not the point of tonight's class. We're never going to get there. Yeah. This one's short. I'm going to just touch on it and not go very far, I hope. Actually, that's not going to happen either. So I got to tell you a story. This is the freedom from the 4 attachments, I think. Shidrel. Yeah, freedom from the 4 attachments. Is that working, or is it?
Yeah.
It's slow.
Is it just being weird?
Yeah, it's kind of
really
laggy.
slow.
Okay. Looking at these people. So the Sakya, who knows who the Sakyas are? Who doesn't know what the Sakyas are? Good. So the Sakyas are one school of Tibetan Buddhism. Yeah. There's 4 main schools, but the Sakyas are really amazing meditators, early Buddhists in Tibet. They had a bunch of those crazy yogis that came from India come over, and they were mainly responsible for translating from the Sanskrit into the Tibetan. It took them like 700 years to translate the entire Buddhist scripture into Tibetan. And they called the Sakyas because the patriarch of the Sakyas, Konchok Gyalpo, built a monastery on a white cliff, and Sakya means white earth. And so the monastery was on the white earth, and so that's why they call it the Sakyas. So, and this is a lineage not of monastics like we know them, but of families, of lay people, like us, passing on the Buddha's teaching from family generation to family generation. Yeah, they ended up taking on robes, but they weren't. They weren't abstaining. What's it called? They weren't.
Abstinent?
They weren't abstinent.
Abstinent, yeah. Not having-
Celibate. Thank you. That's the word I was thinking. Yeah, they made babies. Okay, they're lay people, but they looked like they were monks. So there's a great, and we're very connected to this Sakya lineage. In 1092, this Kunga Ninpo, who wrote the text Freedom from the Four Attachments, he was studying with a translator, a Lotsawa from India, translating the texts. Is that there? Yeah, Bari Lotsawa. He was studying with Bari Lotsawa at the age of 12. This Kunga Ninpo, at the age of 12, was studying all the stuff you're studying. He was getting secret instruction, tantric instruction as well, and he had a vision of Manjushri, the Buddha of wisdom, yeah, who dictated the freedom from the four attachments to him. And then that got passed down to his two sons, Sonamse, and the commentary that we studied is from his second son, Dragpa. And then he had a nephew who was the Sakya Pandita. You probably would have heard. The Sakya Pandita was like an incredible scholar, accomplished master, an incredible person in Tibet at the time. So much so that when Mongolia was taking over the planet, they were resident in Beijing. The Mongols had taken over China, Russia, and the rest. That I can't remember the name of the Khan who was at court in Beijing. He demanded, or he requested, the Sakya Pandita to come and teach him this amazing knowledge, right? And he was quite advanced in age already, and I think that they still have the letter, which is interesting. They have the letter in Tibetan from the Khan, I can't remember his name, but the letter basically said, "You master who knows all things, blah, 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 please come to the court and teach me, the Khan, this thing called Buddhism, or I will come and kill you all if you don't." Yeah. So like I will come to the borders and destroy it, blah, blah, blah. So of course, the Sakya Pandita sent his nephew ahead to try and appease the Khan. Eventually, that Khan got converted or became a Buddhist, and then shared Buddhism in Mongolia throughout the thing, and eventually the Sakya Pandita went over there. The interesting thing about the Chogyal Pakpa, that he ended up being at the court of Beijing with that Khan, Genghis Khan, I want to say, yeah, and Genghis Khan, and he got to meet Marco Polo, and this is a reference from Marco Polo of having met him, one of the 5 great Sakyas. So in essence, there were Dharma mafia, yeah? There were the mafia of family business, let's get people enlightened, right? And they managed to reach Marco Polo and so on. It so happened that as that empire shrunk in the 1700s, a bunch of Mongols got left behind. The Dalai Lama at the time told them to cross the frozen river at a certain day of Christmas Eve or whatever the time was in 17 something. And the river didn't freeze, and half of the Mongols were left on the western side in Russia, and the other half got to return home. And those became migrants to the United States in the early 1800s and established a community in Howell, New Jersey, where His Holiness the Dalai Lama sent Ken Rinpoche, your great-grandfather, to take care of that community of Mongols. Yeah, and the Howell place is still there, and that's where Geshe Michael studied, and that's where we get our lineage. So we're directly connected to this lineage of the Sakyas. Yeah. So I thought that was important to know, that you're part of the mafia. Yeah. Someone read the 4 attachments and I'll see what I can do. Let's go. Attachment number 1. Rachel.
If you are attached to this life, you are not a true spiritual practitioner. Want me to keep going?
Yeah.
If you are attached to samsara, you do not have renunciation. If you are attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there is grasping, you do not have the view.
So they sound so simple. If they sound so easy to think about, but extremely difficult to do. Don't forget, this is for the mafia. This is for the Buddhist mafia. These are all accomplished practitioners who are being told, if you have attachment for this life, you're no Dharma practitioner. You don't have spiritual practice. It's for people that understand the nuances of Buddhist practice, that it takes a lifetime of mental training, of actual activity in the world, bodhisattva activity, of transforming your way you relate to the world, karma and emptiness all the time. They know this, and they say, if you have attachment for this life, you're no Dharma practitioner. And it means 4 things specifically in the commentary, right? Now, that's the only one I'm going to explain out of this because I think it's important for us. If you're attached to your impulses, meaning I've got an intuition about this, yeah? Like you come to this class, like maybe this will be a good class, a good feeling about it, or I've got a bad feeling about it, right? If the bakchaks, the mental seeds that are ripening in your head, in your mind, to perceive reality in the way that you are perceiving, have a cause. They're not just from nowhere. So if you're just trusting your instinct, you're putting your spiritual well-being on some forgotten activity that your mind did earlier on to produce this reality. He says, that's no Dharma practitioner. You don't know what other bullshit impulses you've got inside of you that are going to pop up tomorrow. You're going to trust them. You're going to trust them. You've got to do more than that. You have to pierce through the fabric of what is, why it is, and why am I this way in relation to it. You can't just go by instinct or by, you were all born in a really good place. You're all in New York. You're all well-dressed. You're all smiling. You probably showered today, yeah, unless you were in the yoga class before. Yeah. So your life is good, but you don't know when that's finishing. You know, you don't know what happens. People have mental breakdowns. People have change of status. All sorts of things come. You can't just rely on the inertia of what brought you here if you want to generate your future differently. So it's like if you're just leaving it all up to chance that, oh, my mental imprints, my projections upon reality are good enough for me to get out of samsara, he said, you're no Dharma practitioner. You've got to do more than that, more than ride on the karma that got you here. Then same for your feelings. Your feelings are also dependent on what you did in the past. You don't know what feelings are coming up next. You'll make wrong decisions if you just say, I'll trust my feelings. And this one I think is particularly important in your culture. Actually, mapa, your parents' conditioning. You're living by the code that your family and your parents taught you, and you don't even know half of it. You just, with certain said so, you don't even know. That's the way we do it. And if someone does it wrong, they're bad. You don't even know. He says, you're no Dharma practitioner if you're just going on the modes my parents or my community taught me. But the one that I think is most important is the culture one. Trusting your spiritual development by the legal code of the United States of America in 2018 ain't gonna do it. It really isn't. Because cause and effect is yours to keep, regardless of the laws that changed. I mean, your founding fathers, I'm Australian, your founding fathers, when they were writing, whether people from Africa were people, were human, but whether they were debating whether people from Africa were human. What if you planted seeds then? What if you went by the code then?
And they decided that there were 3/4 of the person.
3/5.
Yeah, or whatever. But what I'm saying is, you can't trust what the majority is doing right now for your spiritual development. You want me to go deeper?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go deeper. I'll do it now because it was so uncomfortable to do it early on. The most undercurrent cultural belief system we have in the West is the belief in a creative God that did all the stuff that you're living in. Not your responsibility. That or the Big Bang, not your problem, right? God did it. My bad stuff, the devil, right? Like, you learned that stuff as a kid. I learned that stuff as a kid. The first time I had to say this in public, I felt like I was going to get a lightning bolt. Seriously. And I was in my 30s, afraid to question God. In my 30s, afraid to question God. The assumption that someone else is in charge of all the good things that are happening to you and all the bad things that are happening to you means you're not responsible. So why would you fix it? Nothing to do with me. The biggest cultural hole in our spiritual development. What do Buddhists say? And I wish they weren't called Buddhists. I know I do this all the time. Wake-upists. Yeah? I don't care for you to be Buddhist, but I do care that you recognize that this fundamental aha. Your mind is creating a model for what is. You have no clue what is. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, etc., have receptors that are limited to what it can capture. And then you're inside your skull, your brain is firing off electrons, and something called your mind, consciousness, is labeling that. Hector speaking at the front, words I can understand. Puppy dog in the same room cannot hear Dharma. Same words, different receptors, something else in their minds, labeling that reality. Yeah? We have a bias and it's limited. Our world is dependent on something in us, not a Big Bang. Maybe that's how things could have developed, no problem. But your understanding of it, your experience of that reality is yours. It's inside of you. If it wasn't, you couldn't change it. It would stay the same. So the Buddhists would say, there can't possibly be a big, scary, bearded guy creating all the crap that you're living through. Because either if they are, they're sadistic, or they're not all powerful, can't stop themselves, all the stuff, or they're not all loving, they don't give a rat's. Otherwise, babies won't get AIDS. It's nothing to do with someone outside. Do you see those three don't fit into one being and make sense with this world? And that's the biggest hole we have in our understanding, the belief that something outside of us is responsible for my experience of here. That's a huge gap in our cultural. Freedom from the four attachments says to you then, if you are leaving your spiritual development to whatever you grew up and you believed mom and dad or the priest or the teacher or whatever, you're not going to make it. Because you need to understand that you are responsible for the experience you are having. And with that responsibility comes the possibility of freedom and the responsibility to deal with all the crap you're experiencing that others are not. And that's the simple yelling boss example, right? So yelling boss in my face, going, Hector, you're stupid. Hector gets offended. The person next to me giggles, goes, hi, I'm getting a promotion. Same words, one excitement, one upsetness. It's not in the words. It couldn't possibly be in Hector, you are fired, or Hector, you are stupid. It can't. The feeling they are having comes from them. The feeling I am having comes from me. The whole interpretation of the situation. Follow that logic deeper. The reality you perceive to be out there a solid white floor and walls is the same way. You can't ever find solid white wall in this thing. There are beings that don't see solid white wall. Puppy dogs sit here and want to pee on it. It's not a wall, it's a toilet. Oh yes, but it's white. Not sure. Bats don't see white. Is it white? For whom is the question. And so the for whom becomes this cultural thing. Understand for yourselves. There's something you can do to alter your reality. That's called karma. Why is that alterable? Because things don't have a nature. That's emptiness. Things are empty of being the way you are perceiving them. They are that for you. They're not that. And the cultural gap we have in the West. Does that make sense? Good. I hope it helps. Let's go there. I'm not going to do the other freedoms because we got no time. Let's go. Huh? No, I just changed it to this. Yeah, on purpose. Do you get the flavor for the Lojongs? Yeah. Did I just upset you by destroying that idea of God? No? Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, you're upset with me? Extremely. Huh? It's frightening to say it out loud because I think the big bearded guy's going to come get me tomorrow. No, but think about it. Some part of me actually does. The childhood that got inculcated that idea, that myth. You know, I can't remember. Geshe-la was talking to some people in can't remember where. They were having a discussion of where the world comes from. And he was explaining that in the West, a big hairy bearded guy made a guy and then took out a rib and then with mud or something made a woman and then they made babies and then and the people laughed. There were indigenous people, I can't remember, I think there might have been Mongols or something anyway, some Bon culture or something. They laughed, they're like, that's a stupid idea. Some big guy got a rib and made a woman and then you got, aren't you all brothers? Like, that's so stupid. And Geshe says, well, what do you guys believe? He goes, obviously it was a deer and a monkey. And I can't remember if he was being facetious or not, but he said he had had that conversation. Anyway, we're like that, yeah. You have the opportunity right now to rethink where your world comes from. And in that comes freedom, and in that possibility for freedom comes responsibility. The premise is you are not engaging with a world that is not of your making. That gives you the freedom to change it. Because if you figure out the cause, why did I get upset at my boss saying, Hector, you're stupid, and not get happy going, finally, I can get out of this job? Why? Because both are possible. Something in me labeled that experience. Just like when we say, for humans, it's glasses, for dogs, it's chew toy. It's neither by itself, separate from humans and dogs. As soon as dogs look at it, it's a chew toy. They really want to chew on it. They salivate for real upon this object. And I punch them in the head because they're really glasses and they're wrong. And so I punch them, my mind gets an imprint of hurting life. I don't know, I just caused myself suffering in the future. I just harmed some life. My mind recorded it. That's got to grow and project a reality later, which will be equal to the cause, but bigger because things grow. Yeah? Yes, it will still come, but you could purify it. So you get the essence of these Lojongs. They're not for the light-hearted. They're like, okay, you've been practicing, you've tried all these things. The only way you're going to get a shortcut is if you just cut the bullshit and do the work. And the work is take care of others because your world is coming from you. You make sure everyone gets what they want, you must get what you want. Summary. Yeah. And then you'll get to a point where this Lojong, the 12 celestial mansions Lojong, this will be a quick one. This is just an example of how your world can change. Once you practice Lojongs, they say that a successful Lojong practitioner will have these qualities, these 12 qualities. So it's just a list of 12 things. is the Lojong. If you've got the 12, you're a good Lojong practitioner. But I invite you to think of it this way. Imagine you're uncovering this list of 12 from an ancient Tibetan culture that's never been translated into English. Imagine you're that person. I know that person. He's my holy teacher. He got this 12-point Lojong called Celestial Mansions, and he got to translate it into English for the first time. Yeah? Lost in Tibetan history. Hundreds of years. Yeah? Will get you to enlightenment. And here are the English translations for the words. Someone read them?
Trustworthy, loyal, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent.
Does anybody recognize that list? It just so happens to be the code for the Boy Scouts, the same 12.
What?
Yeah, yeah. And so you will have a force that I know, I know. So imagine being that person that translated from the Tibetan, the secret to get enlightened. Yeah. The secret to get enlightened in 12 qualities. And you're writing them out, and you were a Boy Scout. And you're like, no way, no way, no way. And so if your life is, your experience of life is really a projection forced upon you by your past deeds, your past karmas, because things don't have a nature, then you could walk into a moment where you witness your whole past as the cause for your enlightenment, spiritual revisionism, where you will go back and remember that thing that happened to you when you were 10, that person you met that said that weird thing, and then you're like, who are these people? They weren't just scout masters. Could that have been a Buddha whispering in my ear? And then the world might think I'm crazy, but that I was really translating from the Tibetan into English, and it's my Boy Scout code. And I can tell you that if you practice long enough, if you massage your mind with kindness and wisdom, if you genuinely want nothing but freedom for everyone you meet, you will get glimpses of your past changing. And then no one can stop you. There's no amount of me telling Geshe Michael that it's coincidence, that maybe he chose those words to translate, because there's no amount of me telling him that will remove that reality from his mind, because his mind is creating it for him. It doesn't have as much impact for me as it did for him translating it for the first time. But I can tell you that, for example, after my dad passed away, there were things that popped up into my meditation that I couldn't go back and ask him anymore, but he appeared in meditation. And I remember vividly him saying things like, it doesn't matter because things don't really exist, they're empty. But he was saying it wrong. Like, he was saying it in a way that he didn't understand the way I know it to be. But why would he have said that to me at the age of 7 or whatever it was? And why would I remember it now as opposed to before? And there's no way anyone can change the validity of that for me. And I might seem crazy talking about those things, and you will seem crazy, but you will know that you're on track if you've been a little crazy for the rest. Woo. So now it's 9:30, 8:38, 8:39, and we finally get to Tsoncha Korlo. Who knows what Korlo is? Korlo. Sipa Korlo is wheel of life. Sipa Korlo is the wheel of life. So I'm going to suggest we have a 5-minute break. Go to the toilet, do whatever it takes, come back, because we're about to do something special together. Yeah, get yourself a drink, come and settle in. we're about to do the wheel of knives or the wheel of sharp weapons.
What's Korwa?
Korwa is the same, it's a cycle.
Because I was just listening to my friend who was talking about Korwa.
Korwa, yes, cycle.
Thank you.
Back ASAP, please. Stretch, drink, be merry. Yeah, yeah. An hour later. Amazing. Oh no. Sorry. Yeah, it's gone. It's free. I know that.
I got a taxi trying to
Yeah. And then you're in and it's like, oh, right.
And now I still have a chance to but I know I want to be in it.
Yeah, but at least you know way more than maybe other people. Yeah, you've had an experience. Have you done the golden line density? No, it's a very structured. So it's visualizations that are trying to get your mind to have certain experiences. And some of them are expansive, some of them are shrinkage, some of them are 3D, some of them are 2D. And it's really to have it. It's just a mental exercise method. But in those experiences, you sort of get access. If you have that, if you have what you've had, which is the immersive experience. You can really dive deep into the subject.
Questions for the best. Beanies are second. Sure, third. But I'm gonna remake the beanies.
Yeah. Cool. Let me remember this
It's not terrible, but it's because they did it at embroidered. Fine detail. It's like so the next batch will be So you're from here? I wore this in the
Did you drive there?
I was out there last time.
How long?
A year, 1 year. Oh, really? And I just found it.
Thank you. It's so cool.
It's probably from that. It's the world champion.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's right.
Hi.
Yeah.
How you doing? Are you?
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Huh?
Yeah. I want to make more merch though. I haven't even been able to take pictures of it yet to get it on the website.
Experience.
Why seven just dropped some new
I saw it.
It's nice.
Really good.
So one thing interesting that they do is like when I went to class this week, when you show up the week after the merch shop,
Oh, that's cool.
so it's really like, I thought they did a good job. All their merch,
That's awesome. They're not disconnected. Yeah.
But the shirts that they came out with their mats too.
I thought that one shirt was good.
Yeah, I really like it. And on the back it's like 877 Namaste, like mind and body repair shop. I'm like, dude, this is sick.
Yeah. I don't know why. That doesn't matter if people would have told you this before, right? It's a similar experience, like complete transformation of spinning around these things, like really inside out transformations that are too difficult to explain, but definitely eye-watering. I don't think if anybody had told me I would have heard or understood or listened, you know, like you have to have that. Yeah, and I I had to have mine. I don't know if you had yours yet or you're having it, or but something happens when your mind starts deconstructing. Okay, this is what it is. It's like a complete drop, and then something needs to be in its place. We are. It's not that we are not. Yeah. Okay, I was feeling something earlier, but I'm not trusting my feelings. I'm analyzing. It's attachment to the feeling. Yeah, yeah. You still can feel because that's an awareness of the mind. Let's see what we can do next. Can you see if there's anyone else? Are you going, right?
No.
Can you see again? Can you see if there's many people out there?
Do you want seltzer?
Jacqueline's got me. Yeah, I saw that. Coming to this class. Okay, good. Try to keep the norm. Okay, great. Hello.
I'd like to point out, it's a school night and I'm
I know. Oh, do it.
You do it. She's so cute.
Nice. Here we go. Radomir is here. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful art in the Cafe 3 Jewels is by Radomir. He's the awesome first artist to be exhibited at 3 Jewels. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, really nice work. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most rad Lojong, and I'm in love with it, and we don't have time to do it properly. Yeah, this is like 4 classes in an hour, less than an hour. So what I would like to invite you to do is I'm going to tell you a little story about the Lojong, and it's probably an account of a Buddha, of the Buddha's previous life or something, or it's an account, but it's probably an account of some saint or some practitioner of their previous lives, of why they got to be the way they are. Often that happens with the account of the Buddha. He says, he tells some terrible or awesome story, and then he says, that was me 500 years before I became a Buddha. So it's sort of that. It'll talk a bunch about wisdom, and wisdom in Buddhism means the fact of emptiness, that things don't have a nature, that this object can't be glasses, because if it were, it must radiate glasses to every single creature that lays eyes upon it. And the fact that not everybody says, oh, glasses, means it don't have glasses in it. It is glasses for us, but it isn't glasses by itself, separate from someone in there, perceiving it, experiencing it. So that's what emptiness means. So what is it that makes it glasses? Definitely something in me and in us. And that, in fact, is what makes us human. We agree on the same delusion. Yeah? We agree that this shared delusion is our reality, and that's what we call humans, and that's what physics is investigating. It's correct for our delusion. But reality ain't that. You got that? Because there are other beings that we can confront that aren't having the same delusion. And they have valid minds. They have valid experiences. They really chew on it. Yeah? And or they get burnt by it if the sun goes past them, and ants, right? And So for them, this object is something completely different for real, not, yeah, I sort of understand it. For real, it isn't glasses. For us, it's glasses. It is glasses for us. It is chew toy for dog. Without dog, without us, it is empty, yeah? Until someone pops in there and goes, look at those chewable things. Can't wait to chew. And that whole fabrication of reality is in us. And we all share it. That's why we are called humans and not dogs. It's interesting, in the Buddhist sense, this doesn't make me human, like your skin, my stuff doesn't make us human. It's that forced perception that we share that makes us human. And that forced perception that they share that makes them animals or dogs. Fair? So this, we'll talk a little bit about that and then take that to the edge of regular practice. So the sutra open practices, it'll cover a whole bunch of those in an accelerated way, generate bodhicitta, the wish to really get at the source of why am I experiencing problems in the first place, and can I stop them? And if I can, let me just find the source and let me stop it. And then it'll get to the very edge of that understanding and enter or edge on the secret teachings and really get wacky. And then we'll stop there. Okay. But here I got to legend first. So it's a story of this kid. He was a teenager and he lived in a village with his dad, and it was a fishing village. So we're talking 500 BC or something earlier. And he adored his dad, and all the sons followed their dad to sea. The mother was always anxious that the dad was in the rough seas and overly protective, and happy family on the seaside, fishing village, is the scene. And of course, one day the dad never comes back, shipwrecked. So they're left alone, the mother and son. And a couple of years go past, and all the other boys come and get this boy and say, hey, we're growing up. Why don't we go out on an adventure like our dads and go explore the sea, come with us. So he asks his mum, can I go? And mum goes, no, you're my only son. And I don't want the same thing to happen to you that happened to your dad. So he listens and he's okay. So a year goes past and it's a season again. And the boys come and ask him, hey, come out to sea on an adventure. You're 17 now or something. Can't we go? And he's like, I really want to. I really, really want to. My mum won't let me. He goes, come on, let's go. So he asks his mum. She says, no, you can't go. You're my only son. So he's like annoyed. He's like, oh, come on, a little pushy. No. Still listens to her and goes, okay, don't go. And then the third year that this happens, the boys come and say, come on, let's go. Really, you've waited 3 years. You can do it. So he argues with his mum. She's like, no, please don't go. I'm scared for you. He's like, don't be like that. And argues with her, and he's like, I'm leaving anyway. So he grabs his bag and starts for the front door, and she stands between him and the door, and he pushes her away and goes through the door, and he's safe, he didn't mean it. But he goes anyway. He goes out to sea and with his mates, and of course he gets shipwrecked, and he's the only survivor because he's the character of the story. Yeah. So he there's a shipwreck. He's the only one that survives. He lands on the edge of a deserted island. There's nobody around. He's like nearly dead, half sort of zoning in and out of consciousness, and these 4 sort of damsel, sexy angel, cheeky babe things come and save him. Like Jacqueline's and Rachel's and Sarah's and Stephen's. And they take him to a castle where they take care of him and feed him, and he has like the time of his life, except he has the time of his life. And he's at peace, and it's just stunning, and he's sort of forgotten where he came from. He's just living in this paradisical kind of experience, and he one day sort of is getting antsy and starts going for a wander in the forest, and he gets lost, and he can't find food, and days go past, and he gets disorientated, and he collapses from dehydration, and he's unconscious, and then a few more angel cheeky babes wake him up and take him to a different.
What is this anime?
It's like every anime.
It's every anime I've collected. So then they do the same. They take him to a special place. They take care of him. They feed him. They wake him up, and he's cared for and tended for. And he strolls in their yard, doesn't go too far. And one day he goes too far, and he starves to death almost, and he collapses. And as he's coming to, he wakes up at the foot of this castle, and this massive wall around the castle, and the castle doors open, and he figures he can get drinking there, so he crawls all the way inside, and the door shut behind him. And this guy appears from the pulpit at the top of the stairs with this wheel of knives with blades on both sides circling around his head, cutting into the side of his head as he's moving, blood spilling everywhere. And he is sort of half conscious. He's like, who are you? What happened to you? And so this man with the wheel of knives cutting his head comes down the steps towards him and stands next to him, and he says, I can't remember his name, my name is whatever. He's like, what happened to me is that I used to live in a fishing village far, far away, and my dad died at sea, and I wanted to go explore the oceans with my friends, but my mum wouldn't let me, so I listened to her the first time. And then he's like, this is very weird. This is very strange, something weird is happening. The story continues, it's like she prevented me from going the second time, and I listened, but the third time I pushed through her, and she fell over and she hit her head, and I remember her hitting her head. But I went out to sea and I got shipwrecked, and I came to this island, and these really sexy babes took care of me, and I lived years in pleasure, them taking care of me. And I know that it was because I listened to my mother that first time, and I stayed gently with her, that I had the fortune to spend years being taken care of. And then I went unconscious. I got lost in the woods, and the second set of sexy babes took care of me for years, and that was the virtue of me listening to my mum the second time, being careful to take care of her instead of going out on my own adventure. But the third time, where I bumped her in the head, I went unconscious the third time, and I came to this castle, and I sat right where you're sitting. The door shut behind me, and this man appeared with this wheel of sharp weapons slashing at his head. And when I asked him the same question, he told me the same story that I was living. And by this time, the listener, the boy, gets it. He knows exactly that he is him, that he has had exactly the same causes, and he knows that painful wheel cutting his head is going to come to him. Yeah, before the guy gets to say, and this wheel of sharp weapons, the pain that I'm experiencing in my head is the karma coming back for having unintentionally hit my mother on the head when I ran away. And at that time, in a pure wish to save the guy with the knives from any other minute of pain, he gets a moment of bodhicitta where he wishes let me take it from you. I know it's coming my way. I know it's my karma. I gladly take it from you. Let it come to me. And in that moment, everything disappears and he's in a paradisical way or something. The story goes that he's freed from the consequences of that action because he had perfect bodhicitta in that moment. So that's how this lojong starts. That's the story of the wheel of sharp weapons, which is a metaphor for your karmic boomerang. Yeah. So it'll go through a series of stanzas to describe exactly what to do when you recognize that absolutely everything you have ever done towards others is coming back to bite you. Every goodness and every shittiness. The point of this lojong, if you read it with the understanding of karma and emptiness, is that the boomerang of everything you have ever done doesn't disappear. Cause has an effect. You must encounter everything you have ever done. So this lojong is a description of a couple of things. If you read the text in detail and the commentary on it, you will be able to reverse engineer why your life is exactly the way it is right now. Using karma and emptiness and the correlation between, if I'm having this, it must have been that I've got the seeds for this in my mind. You could reverse engineer why you have certain problems you got no current understanding for. Why did that happen to me? This text will be able to show you the karmic correlations why a certain experience you're having is yours. Yeah, just like the wheel of sharp weapons coming back to him. The other thing, when it gets weird, and I don't think we'll get there, but when it gets weird, the other thing you'll be able to tell is three important things. How to stop planting seeds in your mind that will force any negativity in your life. So how to stop doing harm, yeah, to not experience harm. Know the karmas you have to not do. It'll help you not do bad shit, so you don't get the wheel of knives. It'll also show you the fastest, most powerful good seeds to plant, so you can have positive ripenings. And then lastly, it will show you how to undo or break down the already bad shit you've done that's coming to bite you, how to minimize that. So those are three important, I think, lessons from this lojong. But I'd like just for us to read it, if that's okay, and I'll just jump in every now and then. Is that cool? So, Dharma Rakshita, and the commentary is by Lord of Tisha. The bottom line is this wheel of sharp weapons or wheel of knives that's on Chakorlo is just a metaphor for your karmic boomerang, and it means that every single thing that you're experiencing, you've put into motion. If things don't have a nature, and that nature comes from something in your mind, who put all that stuff in your mind? And the theory of karma says your awareness of having done something towards another with intent is what creates the imprint that then becomes the lens through which you experience things. Yeah? So if I say to you, oh, it's so nice to see you, the words are just words. So nice to see you. I know she understands it. She doesn't know that I'm thinking, God, I'm so sick of her, what a bitch. Yeah? So she smiles and goes, oh, so nice to see you too, Hector. I'm like, yeah, sure she does. Yeah, sure it is. In my mind. And I get to eat that and experience that wheel back for me. She won't. She didn't do that. She's not aware of that. Unless she went, oh yeah, nice to see you too, asshole. Right? And then she gets to live that. Or the opposite. I really want to help you. I know that you've got stuff going on, and I know that I probably can't, but I just want to. And a tiny seed grows into a massive result, just the wanting to. With truth, with really wanting to, and I'll do what I can to help you. That is enough to shift the lens of our awareness, because things don't have a nature. We must see them through that lens. The lens we are continuously is it polishing the lens? Is it when you
Cleaning.
no, not cleaning, when you're creating a lens.
It's like a grounding thing.
Grounding, yeah.
Oh.
We are constantly grounding the lens of our mind through which we see reality. There ain't no reality separate to the one we must see. And we are grounding it with every action of body, speech, and mind. That's karma. That's what's forcing us to see this and not shoot to it. And so this Lojong is beautiful for that reason. It starts off with the peacock story. There's a whole bunch of peacock metaphors because at the time it was believed that peacocks can eat poison fruit. Three Jews? Yeah. Jueles. Jueles.
E-W-L-E-S.
Yeah. Jueles. 3 jewels. Sorry for my bad rushed spelling, etc. But the text starts by him prostrating, Dhammarakshita, right? Prostrating to the 3 jewels. And then he changes and he's like, no, screw this. I'm going to prostrate to the Lord of Death, to the dude that kills death, because I want him to help me. So it's a kind of, it starts getting weird from the beginning, and it's telling, I thought Heather would like it. It begins this relationship with, if there's a force, if there's a karma that makes me see death, there's got to be a karma that lets me see stopping death. I'm prostrating to that. Whatever you look like, come over here and help me. Yeah? So it's like, death, come help me. Instead of the 3 jewels, which is what makes you a Buddhist, the 3 jewels is literally what makes you a technical Buddhist, taking refuge in the 3 jewels, in the understanding of karma and emptiness through the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Instead of saying, by the Buddha's main refuge, may I get to the source of this problem, he says, no, screw that. If karma and emptiness are true, I'm going for above that if I can. Whatever my perception is of that thing that can kill death, whatever you look like, come over here now. I prostrate to you. I offer this text to you. So who's going to do the first reading? Stephen?
Peacocks wander in the midst of a forest of poison trees. A garden of healing herbs and plants may be something lovely, but peacocks have no love for them. They live off poison itself.
So this is the 5 poisons, live off poison itself. Here is a metaphor that peacocks were thought to get their beautiful plumage because they were the only ones that ate poisonous fruit. They would eat what the other pretty birds wouldn't eat. Yeah? They would get more beautiful. So I'm not eating that poison. I'm too special for that. I'm only going to eat nice flowers and other berries the normal birds would do, the normal forest gatherers, scavengers would eat. But the peacock says, no, screw that. I'm going for poison. And poison, look what it makes me do. It transforms me into this most magnificent bird. And it's a metaphor for bodhicitta. It's saying, like a being who is sick and tired of suffering, I'm going straight for the suffering of other beings, not just my own, for taking care of all other beings. Like the peacock, I'm going straight for the poison. I'm diving into this world in order to transform it into this magnificent plumage that will be freedom from suffering. I'm not like all the other humans who are just like happy to take care of their own little world. I'm going straight for the jackal. Make sense?
Bodhisattva warriors are the same. A garden of comfort and pleasures may be something lovely, but the warriors have no attachment for them. They live off a forest of pain.
So they live off removing the pain of others, right? Eating it up. Next one. I think, is that the same? Yeah. Next one.
The kings of cowardice who pursue comfort and pleasure find themselves transported instead to pain. Those mighty warriors who pursue pain for others find themselves forever surrounded by bliss, by the power of their courage.
Next one.
Now in this place, desire is like a forest of poison trees. Bodhisattva warriors, like peacocks, are strong enough to take it. Cowards, though, are like the crow, for these same leaves are death to it. How could those who only think of what they want themselves ever have the strength to eat this poison?
Do you get the metaphor? Do you get the transformation? It's like, if I habituate myself to take on the suffering of others, those that aren't used to it are like crows. They'll perish at the sight of it.
But why is the desire, what does it say? Desire is a...
Sorry, don't know. Listen. We can go back and read it, but I want you to get the flavor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same is true with all the other mental afflictions there are. These are enough to threaten the life of nirvana for those like crows. The peacock bodhisattvas, though, turn the poison forest of their mental afflictions into opportunities and food to keep them strong. They leap then into the forest of this vicious circle of life. They make it an opportunity and thus destroy the poison.
So they don't. So bottom line is, we as bodhisattvas, beings who want the speedy track out, don't shy away from the problems of the world, but move towards them. And everyone's got problems. And let me be the one to take it. And with that attitude, if that's going to create a mental imprint, me taking away the pain of everything, what would be the result of that karmically? Everything, taking away my pain. If the lens grinding is, may I really take away the pain of those that I can, and those that I can't, may I develop the capacity to. The peacock, right? It's like, I'll eat poison. Let me go help all the suffering beings. Let me take it away from them. Suffering as a result. Make sense?
But the other birds weren't eating those poison foods.
Correct. They were avoiding them. I can't deal with her. She's having problems. I'm not talking to her. I'm not talking to him. He's having problems. I'm talking to you. You seem fine. We're just going to hang out. And I don't build up the strength to take on suffering. And then when suffering comes to me, because I don't have the strength, I'm like a crow, I get undone just at the side of something yucky. I can't handle it. I break down. The bodhisattvas, because they've trained themselves in taking care of others, doesn't matter how much pain comes, it makes me stronger. Because where does pain come from? According to this, it's forced upon me by my previous perception. It must have come from me doing painful things to others, right? Removing other people's pain, giving people what they wish, taking care of people is the opposite of the causes of pain. Gradually, pain will be removed from my perception. I'd have to go looking for people that are in pain, and that's exactly what bodhisattvas do. Who else is in trouble? Let me help them. And so you are not just building strength, you are building immunity to the poison of pain by taking care of others, removing others' pain. Whereas those of us who stay safe, not eating poison, not engaging with negativity, not just, I'm safe, I'll just take care of my own happiness, let the others deal themselves. And I'll take this away from you, and I'll take this away from you, because I want to be safe, not you. I just actually creating the causes to maintain that pain. They see pain and they don't do anything about it. To remove it. Then the text goes, so we got that premise, yeah? Bodhisattvas, go for it, try and remove the pain of the world, love every other being. It's the essence. I'm sorry it's not detailed. There's so much text to cover. This next part is the most awesome part, because he goes into a canter now where he begins to make correlations, just like the correlations in the actual story of the Wheel of Sharp Weapons. This must have been caused by this. This must have been caused by that. If I see this, it must have been because of that. And this part is just stunning. And he gets trippier and trippier until he changes it. So the one thing I want to make sure we understand is the difference of the how and why when we experience anything. So let's say I find this nourishing. I drink it. It tastes good. I had pleasure. Yeah. Does water give me pleasure? Yes, it does. Water gives me pleasure.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Sorry.
Does water give me pleasure? Yes, I just showed it to you. Yeah. Is pleasure in the water?
No.
Correct. Prove it.
Why?
A fly would go in the same water, no pleasure. Yeah? If I drank it, also no pleasure. You get the point, right? There's nothing in that water that anyone that touches it must feel pleasure. But I do. Where did the pleasure come from? It must have come from me. Did I choose it in the moment? I want to feel pleasure. Not necessarily. Yeah? If the fly had a choice, would it choose suffering or pleasure? Pleasure. So why did it suffer? So it's not a choice in the moment. So there isn't pleasure in here, but I did have pleasure. The water is the how this happened. I did get pleasure through water. That's no problem. Buddhism has no problem with science. Yes, your blood is flowing through your veins. Yeah? That's not why you're alive. That's not why I got pleasure. The how and the why are different. Why did I get pleasure and someone not get pleasure? Why does someone that have blood die and someone that does have blood not die? Is it in the blood? No, it's in the pumping. Okay. Why is someone die and someone that is also pumping not die when they get their legs dropped off? The why and the how are connected but are very different. Karma says why. What is it that's charging up this liquid to be tasty, pleasurable water? For me, it's the karma. What is it that's charging up that liquid for it to be poison for a fly? It's something in the fly's consciousness. This is the vehicle. This is the how that karma got delivered. And the how functions for us. We measure it. We call it science. Yeah? And that works. It's not that it doesn't work. So don't think that everything's disappearing now that you understand actually why it works. You're just getting a deeper layer. Yeah? And this whole thing is correlation. Who's reading next with a nice loud voice?
Realize now that grasping for yourself is the henchman of the devil and keeps you here in this vicious circle, helpless to help yourself. Run now, far from the state of mind that only wants what's good for me, that only wants what feels good, and happily take upon yourself any hardship for others' sake.
So he's like, oh, the henchman of the devil. I love that. He's like, the thing that is grasping to myself, only wanting me to be happy. Because when I want me to be happy, I'm not sharing this delicious water. And karmically, that guarantees I won't ever get water again. Taking care of myself only guarantees I can't be taken care of in the future. Taking care of yourself only, if this was created by pleasures I've given to others in the past, and this is the delivery vehicle, me not wanting to share that pleasure with others is the cause of me not getting that pleasure in the future. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you get that, this is the beginning of a journey that you have to investigate and test, and if you want to break free from the things that are hurting, this is the only vehicle. Giving away what you love, which is hard because it guarantees you getting it. You didn't get it any other way. You never did. It's forced upon you by your past deeds. This is why this is pleasurable. And no amount of drinking water in the future will give me that pleasure if I didn't share it. Impossible. So attachment to myself, grasping to just me, the acts we do day to day are the very things that are causing our suffering. The selfishness, that I'll keep that last little bit of cake. Yeah, guarantees no cake in the future. Or no pleasure when someone gives you cake because it's not loaded with that karma. You make a cake, and then you're like, I'm allergic to cake all of a sudden. So he starts off going, hold on, where is this? Remember, he conjured up. He's like, I prostrate to the thing that kills death, to the killer of all suffering. Come help me. Find someone. Who? The henchman of the devil. Me, grasping to myself. Come attack.
The mass of living beings are just like me, driven on against their will by karma, minds forever filled with negative thoughts. Let me take now all their pain and throw it down in heaps upon the head of the part of me that wants only me to be happy.
Isn't that amazing? It's like, if this is true, in a moment of sheer visionary insight, it's that if this is true, that the only time I get goodness is when I give it away, and the only time I cause suffering is when I just grasp to things for myself. I don't want that. Let me think of every being just like me who misunderstands reality. Take that and like a mountain of shit loaded on top of my mind, on that part of me that thinks that's how I'm going to get happy, by keeping things just to myself. It's just stunning. Next one.
Whenever I feel myself being carried away by what I want, may I stop myself and give away my own happiness to others. Whenever those who pledge to help me instead do something very wrong, may I say to myself, it's because I failed to keep my mind on goodness, and thus put my heart at ease.
Meaning, recognize where the negativity is coming from. She might have been the vehicle of saying words that hurt me, but it's not her. The hurt is my projection. May I get at that. May I forget this. Yeah. Next one. I'm just going to go like that until we get to more deeper correlations.
Whenever my body is stricken by some unbearable sickness, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again, the karma of doing harm to the bodies of other people. From now on, then, I'll take upon my own body all the sickness that comes to anyone at all.
Meaning, whenever you feel pain, it doesn't mean go looking for pain. Yeah, it means whenever you feel pain, may you imagine it is now being removed from anybody at all on the planet of all time who could ever feel pain. May in the moment you're feeling pain, may no pain exist for any other creature. Imagine that imprint, sharpening the lens, not sharpening, grinding the lens. Thank you.
Whenever I feel any pain inside of my own thoughts, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. Beyond a doubt, it's the karma of upsetting other people. From now on, then, I'll take on myself the hurt that others feel.
If I gave you the next word, would you tell me the correlation? If I tell you what the next verse is, would you tell me what the imprint would have been that created that?
Yeah.
Let's try. Whenever I suffer in the service of another whose authority is more, it is because of the wheel of sharp weapons has turned on me again, the karma of abusing power yourself. Let's see how you do. As one less than me. Yeah.
Whenever should I read the whole thing? Whenever I suffer in the service of another whose authority is more, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of arrogance towards those who are less than me, and forcing others to do my work. From now on, then, I'll force another. I'll force my own body and life into the service of others.
Isn't that just amazing? If you're going to have the karma of wanting to force another, turn it onto the real henchman, to the real thing, the grasping to myself. Next one.
Whenever an unpleasant word from another comes and reaches my ears, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of mistakes I've made and different things I've said, divisive talk and such. From now on, then, the only thing that I'll talk bad about is what I say that's wrong.
For those of us who get lonely.
Whenever I find myself without anyone to help me, no friends of my own, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of leading away those who were close to another. From now on then, I'll never act in a way that makes others lose the ones who are close to them.
So the only way we get separated from people we like is by separating others who like each other. What about not thinking clearly or being depressed? Can you read it?
No.
It's not there.
Very good.
When I can't think clearly, when I feel depressed at heart, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of leading others to constantly do bad deeds. From now on then, I'll avoid ever being a reason for others to do something wrong.
Trying to get things done that don't work out. Someone?
The things I try to accomplish never seem to work out, and I feel upset to the core. It's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of obstructing the work of holy beings. From now on, then, I'll give up ever being a hindrance to them.
Cool. And it's getting higher. Steve, you want to go?
When no matter what I do, my Lama never seems pleased, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of hypocrisy in my practice of the Dharma. From now on then, I'll try to be less insincere within my spiritual life.
I just think that's amazing. Someone else?
When everyone around me seems to criticize my every move, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of not caring for my own side, whether I'm good or how what I do affects others. From now on, then, I'll avoid doing any actions that are inconsiderate.
How about when we come together as a spiritual community? Someone?
When it happens that as soon as I bring together a group of people around me, they begin to strive against one another. It's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of wishing ill on others and splitting people into sides. From now on, then, I'll never wish ill on others, but only do them well.
Is this okay that we're reading them? Is that okay? Yeah. Do you want to do it?
When serious sickness comes to me, pneumonia, fevers of death, cancer, water filling my limbs, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of breaking the rules and sullying myself by the act of wrongly using those things that were supposed to be used for Dharma. From now on, then, I'll never do anything like stealing objects meant for Dharma use.
And here it's not dogmatic, it's talking about really objects that are used to wake people up. Yeah, things that you use inappropriately in that sense.
So would it just be would it be that, because for example, when I think of people I know who've gotten ill, of course it could be a past karma, but could it also be using anything, like previous lives, I mean, could it also be using anything as though it is not potentially an instrument? Like, does it have to be a Dharma book? Or could it be like, I only use my computer to watch porn. I don't do it to try to help others.
Yeah, of course. It's anything like that that has a harming effect in general. Like if you got one breath left, what would you use that for if you wanted to have life? You'd use it for the service of others, to serve other people's lives. You wouldn't use it for a selfish desire. So it's the use of any object.
It also makes sense when, because the word dharma means thing.
Object, yeah.
Could be anything.
We got a bunch to go, so
Sorry.
no, you're good.
When suddenly I'm stricken by migraines that wrap my body, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of doing those things that I pledged to never do. From now on, then, I'll avoid every non-virtuous act.
So don't forget, this is talking to practitioners who have vows and have promises, who understand these things. A couple more before we get weird.
When I'm attacked by worries, by obstacles in my mind, when spirits come to haunt me,
It's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of doing wrong deeds towards angels and around the teachings of the secret word. From now on, then, I'll stop all of the negative thoughts that wander throughout my mind all day.
One couple more.
It's not on yet.
Oh, really?
No, it's,
There it goes.
when my want for things is great, but I have nothing to pay for them, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of failing to give to others and offering to the Jews. From now on, then I'll work hard to make offerings and to give.
So you get the pattern, right? Anything that's happening to you, equal opposite reaction. Let's see, what do you think ugliness is for a practitioner?
Anger.
Isn't it like the tantric paintings or something?
What?
Oh, what?
Someone
Oh,
read
yeah,
it?
anger's there. Yeah.
Someone read it?
When I look ugly to others and those around me insult me for it, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of making holy images without taking the proper care, and of letting anger drive me into a state of turmoil. From now on, then, I'll craft these holy images right and learn to endure with patience.
Is that something up there? I can't tell when.
Yeah.
Someone read it, please.
When I practice Dharma as much as I can, but still cannot control my mind, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of seeking ways to be important in the worldly way, from now on, then I'll only hope for freedom, devoting myself to it.
Cool. So then he goes, okay, in a nutshell, someone read that.
To put it in a nutshell, anything that ever falls upon us that we never wanted is just the same as a blacksmith who accidentally kills himself, forging a sword for someone. It's all because the wheel of knives has turned on us again. Decide then that from now on, you'll be careful not to commit a single negative act.
So he's like, it's just like you're crafting a murder weapon, someone else and trip and fall on it. Everything we do must come back. And so any negativity you must experience. So may I just remember not to do that. So now it gets weird. It's like, remember that dude I conjured up, Mr. Death? Okay. It'll be 10 more minutes for those of you that need to go. It's 9:30. Those that can stay, please stay.
Lord of Death.
The Lord of Death. Let's go.
Since this is the way things are, I finally realized just who my enemy is. I've caught the thief who lay in wait and deceived me with his trap. He's a masquerader fooling others and fooling himself as well. I see it now. He's the habit I have of grasping to myself. And of this there can be no doubt.
So he's like, oh, I know it's these correlations. When I do this, when I do that, when I do this, then I get that. When I do this, I get that. But wait a minute. Who's behind all this? It's me, self-cherishing. It's thinking self-existently. It's these two thoughts, grasping to self-existent and cherishing myself. It's like, poor me. Why did this happen to me? And it's obviously because you think things have something out there. This is where it gets to karma and emptiness in a deeper way. It's like I have this self-cherishing, take care of me first. That's one of them. But the deeper one is just thinking that things have a nature. If I forget that, I'm always going to create this cause and effect. But I want to smash that. I want to smash the very machine that turns the wheel. Yeah? So he conjures up he gets really upset with that self-grasping, self-cherishing. So someone with a big loud voice, because we're about to get excited. Oops.
Now let's see the wheel of knives of karma cut his skull. O angel of wrath, now cut his skull, cut thrice. Stand like a god on widespread legs, and knowledge of two truths. Stare in hatred with two eyes of method and wisdom. Open your jaws and show your fangs, four powers of confession. Sink them deep within the flesh of this, my hated foe.
So who's the hated foe? Self-cherishing, right? And self-grasping. And so he conjures up the Lord of Death. This is a Yamari or Yamantaka, or it's a tantric deity, and it's full of symbolism. The foundation are the two legs, which are the two truths. Understanding the how and the why. The true truth is that there is a relative truth, that is water. There is water for humans. Yeah, that's how it appears. That's relative truth. What's its ultimate truth? It's empty of being a yummy liquid. Its ultimate nature is that it's blank. Understanding your world through these two truths are the foundation of the two legs of the yama, of the slayer of death. The thing that will stop all harm is based on that foundation. There are two worlds going on at the same time. The one I'm experiencing, forced upon me by my past karma, and the real one, separate from my perception, which is emptiness itself. It is empty of having that nature. A being that lives constantly in both has a strong foundation for developing the two, what's the next, the two fangs? No, that's the four fangs, the two eyes. Method. So the method, if all things are empty, let's take the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva. The first 4 perfections are method, giving, ethics, patience, and joyful effort. All the activity, all the acts, all the recorded moments of your mind are creating your Buddha body. Yeah? And the last 2, meditation or concentration and wisdom, the last 2 perfections, are creating the perfection of wisdom. Yeah? The Dharma, the enlightened mind of a Buddha. Those 2 together can make you into a Buddha. Method and wisdom, the 2 eyes that you see reality through. You see the 2 realities. It's full of metaphors. Yeah? And then the fangs, the 4 teeth, are the things that will destroy your past karma. Yeah, the 4 forces of purification.
Is there any reason why it says cut it thrice?
Yeah, those 3 things. The foundation, the eyes, and the thing. Cut it thrice. Why? You got to stop doing bad shit so you can stop negative karmas. You got to start doing good shit so you could really do the 2 collections, right, of merit and wisdom. And what's the third one? You got to purify the bad stuff you've already got in your consciousness. That's the thrice. He's like, help me with the foundation, of the true truths, understanding how things are. I still got to act as an enlightened being through the building up merit and wisdom. Yeah, because I want to have a realization of reality. I really want to see truth, and the only way I'm going to do that is by doing all the acts of towards others, taking care of others. Yeah, so the 3 of that. Good question. Someone read.
I call on the king of the secret knowledge, the secret words that work to torture all these enemies. There is no freedom here in the woods of the vicious circle of life. Take up in your hands the wheel of knives. Take up in the wheel of karma. Speed to the side of my foe, the cruel one, evil demon that he is, this grasping to myself, broken vows and promises, waster of my life and others, go and touch him here.
So notice he's saying wheel of karma. He's no longer saying wheel of knives, right? He's just like, okay, let's not pretend that it is karma. And he goes, fetch him, bring him, Lord of angel, Lord of death. Strike now, strike this highest foe in the heart with the roar of hell. Smash now the skull of my misperceptions, the ones who have wasted my life. Bring your death to the heart of this butcher, my greatest enemy.
He's called the Lord of Anger.
Mm-hmm. One couple more.
Come to me, angel of wrath, Lord of death. Take this pitiful sack filled with 5 poisons, mired by the force of karma and afflictions, in this filth of the vicious circle of life. Come, I beg you. Come right now and rip this bag to shreds.
He's like, I'm done. I don't want this anymore. Get it out of me, this stupid thing that's creating the suffering that I'm walking through. Get rid of it.
He would escort me to the terrors of the 3 lower realms. I don't know enough to be afraid of him. I run to the things that would take me there. With the roar of hell, smash now the skull of my misperceptions, the ones who have wasted my life. Bring your death to the heart of this butcher, my greatest enemy.
It's getting closer. He chases after happiness. Is that up there?
No.
I'll read it. He chases after happiness, but knows nothing of how to make it come. The slightest unpleasant thing is unbearable to him, and at the same time, he's insatiable, wanting all the wrong things. With the roar of hell, smash now the skull of my misperceptions, the ones who have wasted my life. Bring your death to the heart of this butcher, my greatest enemy. Someone do the next one.
Come now, you of mystic might, Lord of the body of emptiness, being of bliss who shatters this hateful evil demon of grasping to some self. With the roar of hell, smash down the skull of my misperceptions, the ones who have wasted. Bring your death to the heart of this butcher, my greatest enemy.
And a couple more. It's worth it. It's really worth it.
Come with mighty wrath and make blood sacrifice of my foe. Come with mighty wisdom and destroy my wrong ideas. Come with mighty compassion and shelter me from my karma. Come, I beg you, obliterate with finality this self.
Sorry.
No, it's coming now.
And so
I have used the art of reasoning to learn with certainty who it is that lies behind every problem in my life. And if by chance he should arise once more and come to struggle to convince me of his view, then I beg you, come and lay him to waste in the middle of his eloquence.
2 more, I think.
And in those days as well, may I find the strength to dwell alone within the 3 realms of mystery. If this would be of service to a single other being, may I find the strength to never give up this bodhisattva behavior. May I draw into my being the suffering of all those feel in the 3 lower realms of pain.
And in the very moment after I arrive in the realms of hell, may the hell guards look upon me and see their holy Lama. May the rain of weapons they release upon me turn into a shower of blooms before they land. May I stand untouched. May peace and bliss then spread throughout my heart.
Let me just see. I thought I had just 3 left, but I think 2. Yeah.
Take a filling a water pitcher with single drops of water. The pitcher isn't filled up when the first drop drops. Neither is it the last that fills it, nor any other of the drops alone. It's when the whole is done, when things that come from others and come from the others, that the pitcher is filled.
And lastly, this is sort of an interesting thing. Someone read that one.
Neither the things that the mind perceives nor the mind itself have any real nature of their own. There is nothing you should practice. There is nothing you should give up. Strip everything of your perceptions. Leave your mind as it came, from the beginning that never was. Don't confuse things by trying to understand them. Live in the place that called as it is, and then you will become a high and holy being.
So there's a tendency to misunderstand this. It's saying there is nothing you should practice self-existently. Yeah, there's nothing you can do that's Buddhisty that will have the result you have, unless you have the understanding that by taking care of others, you will have the results. There's nothing you should give up that way either, that if I give up this, I must get that result, unless I understand where it comes from. That speeds it up. And strip yourself of your perceptions just means stop thinking that things have a nature of their own. And lastly, live in the place called as it is try and, our minds can't be in emptiness and relative reality at the same time. It's like, remember emptiness, the place of as it, things as they are, separate to my perceptions, are empty of that nature. Live in that. Understand that everything you do towards everyone will be bounced back like an echo of every action you've ever put, because things don't have that nature. So it sounds like he's saying, don't do anything. But he's saying, don't do anything self-existently. Do it, understanding where it comes from, and you will become that powerful creature he just invoked, the Lord of Death that destroys misconceptions. And with that, I'm really grateful you stayed a little later. This is the most exquisite text. We didn't do it justice. The commentaries are vast. It's class after class, and every line is pregnant with depth that can wake up the most dormant seeds for wisdom. So I hope you get them when you lay your heads on your pillows tonight. Hope you see your Lord of Death. So let's do a quick offering.
Sashi Puki Jushin Metokram Viravin Shin Inde Gimpadi Sange Shindu Mite Vardi Drogun Namda Shimla Shiparsho Hiram Guru Namanda Kamniyatayami Gewadi Sunam Yashe Sok Sok Shin Sunam Yashe Vejunwe Dampa Kuni Toharsho.
Thank you for spending your minds on this. And as trippy as it sounds, I hope something stirs in you tonight and for the rest of your lives to see that there's something you can do to alter your reality. It doesn't have to be the way you're experiencing it. It's way more. You are the universe. Amen.
Hector, will you teach a series on Wheel of Sharp Weapons only after this is over?
I would love to teach that next year. Wheel of Sharp Weapons only. I would love to do that and extend it. Yeah.
You mentioned there was a meditation challenge today?
Yes, there is a meditation challenge coming up called 10-10-10. Starts on the 18th of November and goes up until the 27th of November, Giving Tuesday. It's being a fundraiser, but it doesn't have to be for you. But meditate 10 minutes, 10 days straight, 10 posts on social media. Yeah, and
helping with rituals a lot.
Yeah, you'll be helping with rituals a lot.
And you'll be meditating.
And you'll be meditating a lot. And you can find
sign
that
up
online. Sign up online at rituals.org.
And
there's a top banner at the top. Yeah.
I was going to say, and you're participating in the yoga and Buddhism panel, right?
Yeah.
And there's a yoga and Buddhism panel right here next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're having a nice talk with yoga Buddhism with a bunch of really cool yogis. I'm not that. I'll do the Buddhism part.